Well, welcome back to the Beyond Sunday podcast. Here at Calvary, we like to dig a little bit deeper into just a few aspects of the sermon. People always, want to say, "Hey, I wish you could have told me more about that," or explain that one part just a little bit more. We had a great speaker today and a great friend of Calvary, Dr. Mark Batterson from National Community Church, but also from Calvary Church.
Absolutely. This is home church for many, many years. Married the founding pastor's daughter.
Yes.
So I kind of married into the family, and Calvary is really where I grew up spiritually, and so grateful. Just a profound privilege to be back.
Yeah, the privilege is ours. A great word. We're in a series about big God and big dreams. We're talking about dreams, and so as I'm processing through that and through the message you shared today, I was thinking, dreams can come from two places. They either come from within us, and that's simply a desire. They can come from external, something God gives us, a dream, a desire that's His, which is then His intention for us. And you taught us so greatly today about what God can do, and just to get a bigger picture of who this God is that's able to make either of those dreams come to pass.
Yeah.
Just could you tell me a little bit more? One of the things I loved that you said was that more than a vision from God, we need a vision of God.
Yeah.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about what you meant by that?
So I will back up the bus just a little bit and say that I think Acts 2:17, the outpouring of the Spirit, one of the byproducts is old men will dream dreams, young men will see visions.
Yes.
So I think dreaming is actually a form of praying. Praying is a form of dreaming.
Yes.
The more you pray, the bigger you dream. The bigger you dream, the more you have to pray. Show me the size of your dream, I'll show you the size of your God. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's too small. So I think vision is a function of imagination, which is part of the Imago Dei, part of the image of God.
Sure.
So we need a vision from God.
Yeah.
But more than that, we need a vision of God. And that really is Isaiah 6, where in the year that King Uzziah died, Isaiah has a vision of the Lord high and exalted. Yeah. And so I have a spiritual father, Dick Foth, who 83 years old. And as a young pastor, he said one of the defining moments was he was frustrated that the congregation he was pastoring wasn't doing what he was telling them to do. Shocking,
yes.
And there was this moment where he felt like the Lord said, quit telling them what to do and tell them who I am. And if people get a vision of God high and exalted, that begins to change the game. How big is your God? Is He bigger than your biggest problem? Is He bigger than your biggest mistake? So I think that vision of God as omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, that's the ceiling on our faith.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Einstein quote that, two ways of living life, either as though nothing is a miracle or that everything is a miracle. And when you're talking about, just getting this vision of God that can inspire our dreams for what God can do, or even asking God for a desire, for a dream, for our life or for ministry, or for Him to do something in the world.
Yeah.
It just brought me to the, Psalm 37. It says, to delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, people want to say, well, how does God speak to me? And we're saying, well, how do I get a dream from God?
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're saying. You're saying is don't worry about what you get from Him. Focus on who He is. When you really see Him for who He is and begin spending that time, delight yourself in Him. And He will do it. He desires to reveal. He desires to speak if we will give Him that space.
Yep. Now, that Psalm 37:4 is interesting, right? Because if you aren't delighting yourself in the Lord, I wouldn't trust your desires, because they're the desires of the flesh. But there's something about delighting ourselves in the Lord. Yeah. And I think, what does John Piper say? That God is most glorified in us when we're most satisfied in Him. Wow. There's something about when you delight yourself in the Lord, in the Hebrew there, give is really conceive. Yeah. So what happens is God begins to conceive these new sanctified desires, the desire to do the right thing, the desire to love people. And so I think then desires actually become a compass that can guide us. I had a professor in grad school who said, what makes you cry or pound your fist on the table? In other words, what makes you sad or mad?
Yeah.
And he said, that may be a passion that God's giving you. I would add, though, Frederick Buechner said, listen to the voice of gladness. Yeah. And so I think mad, sad, glad, those are three things that we really have to be dialed into. And God can really begin to lead us and guide us, because I think he wants to use us where we have passion, this God-given passion.
Sure. Yeah, and a lot of times people misinterpret that passage as well. You know, God will, if you delight yourself in the Lord, he'll give you the object of your desire.
Yes.
He'll give you that thing you're desiring,
yes.
but it's really saying he's going to transform your heart. He's going to give you a different desire.
And change what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is amazing. That's like the most fundamental change.
Yeah, change from the inside out. And I love this conversation. I know that one of the things we'd like to do at Calvary is go a little bit deeper so people can take this beyond Sunday and apply it in their life, but also to kind of help, we got Pastor Marty, you do the same thing. You present things so relevant, so applicable for people's life. You know, we're trying to help people see the pastor theologian. There's obviously a rich theology, behind what you're saying, and we want to draw that out. This idea of who God is, and this idea of the fact that he does communicate with us, that he does have a design for our life. Yeah. We would call that the Imago Dei and the Missio Dei, right?
Yep.
And how do dreams and how does a vision from God play into us realizing who we actually are and what we're designed to do?
Well, I think God makes big people with big dreams. But by definition, a God-sized dream is going to be beyond your ability, beyond your resources, beyond your education. In other words, you can't do it, but God can. And so don't be surprised if the Lord puts you in situations where I don't know how I'm going to get from A to B, but that's when and where and how God shows up and shows off. So, A.W. Tozer said, a low view of God is the cause of 100 lesser evils. High view of God is the solution to 10,000 temporal problems. G.K. Chesterton said, how much happier you would be, how much more of you there would be if the hammer of a higher God would smash your small cosmos. So I really think that our biggest problem is our small view of God.
Yeah.
And we reduce God to our human limitations. No, he's holy, holy, holy. In other words, he's in a category by himself. And one of two things happens over time. Either your theology is going to conform to your reality and you're going to compromise what you believe, or your reality is going to begin to conform to your theology. And that's where you just kind of keep exercising that faith. And it's not name it, claim it. If it's not in the will of God, we don't even want it. It's a non-starter. But if it's in the will of God, for the glory of God, then I think that's where you keep dreaming into the future. And, it's unique to humankind. I mean, animals have hoarding instincts, but that's it. Like they don't architect cities or do moonshots or code apps. They don't do any of that. I think God has gifted us with the ability to exercise imagination. Of course, Einstein said imagination is everything.
That's incredible. I love, you brought Chesterton into that, one of my favorites, and very ecumenical, the sources you're drawing from, which I appreciate that, God just speaking through all different aspects of the body of Christ and the way that, we can learn. And what we say at Calvary is everyone's a theologian.
Yeah.
Everyone has beliefs about God, and those things impact the way they interact with him and with others, as well as the way they see themselves and what's real in the world.
That's so good. Can I even piggyback on that?
Please.
Because I love it, because either we're a good theologian or a bad theologian. We often say, you're the only Bible some people will ever read.
Yeah.
Are you a good translation? Yeah. So, but I love the verb form, theologize. And I think we've lost that. Yeah. That we live in a cultural moment where everybody politicizes everything. Mm-hmm. We demonize, politicize, dehumanize. Yep. And I think the only solution to that is to theologize. And I think it starts with the theology of dignity, that the image of God in me greets the image of God in you. And then we go from there.
Yeah, and I love you even said today that, it's not that God is logical or illogical. He's theological.
Yes.
He's something other, something beyond and outside of all of this.
Yeah.
And being created in his image, we will never exhaust his intellect or his capacity. There will always be more for the brightest mind to explore. And yet he's always available for the simplest of individuals and tasks and opportunities in front of us. But, well, thank you so much for helping us take this sermon beyond Sunday and see how we can apply it to our lives. Dr. Mark Batterson, so good to have you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much.
And we'll see you guys next time. Also, like, share, and pay attention to all the Calvary information channels so that we can hear your questions about the messages so we can dive a little bit deeper and help you take it beyond Sunday for your life.